are poor. And that is 63% of Nigerians that are experiencing deprivations in more than one dimension, like I mentioned earlier. You will recall those 4 dimensions: health, education, work, and shocks, as well as living standards. Now, let's move ahead. 86 million multi-dimensional poor Nigerians live in the north. So out of this 133 million that you're seeing here, 86 million of this 133 million people are living in the northern part of the country. That means 86 million poor Nigerians live in the north. Now, out of the 133 million people, 86 million live in the north, 47 million, the rest of the population, 47 million poor Nigerians live in the south. Now, the beautiful thing about this report also, according to the NBS, is that the Nigeria Multidimensional Poverty Index was also linked to the Child MPI, which is the Child Multidimensional Poverty Index, and I'll come to that in a bit. But let's go to the next slide. The Nigeria MPI, that's the Multidimensional Index, stands at 0.257, according to the National Bureau of Statistics and its partners. Now, why are we seeing this? You will recall that the report was, or the survey was done between November of 2021 and February of 2022, where over 56,000 households were surveyed. What worsened that situation? You would also know that Nigeria suffered a recession in 2020. We came out of recession in the 4th quarter of 2020. Into 2021, the 1st quarter of 2021, we also recorded a positive growth. Not beautiful though, but COVID-19, unemployment, COVID-19, you recall 2020, the whole world was, on a lockdown, as well as suffering a pandemic. Unemployment in Nigeria, which is at 33%. I don't know what the NBS, perhaps they will bring out new figures concerning that. Insecurity worsened the situation. Now, let's move over to this one. High deprivations in sanitation and proximity to healthcare. That is time to healthcare. For those, I'll come back to the rural people though. But if you take a look at the poor Nigerians, access to healthcare was also measured in terms of how long does it take for a poor person to get access to healthcare, food security, as well as housing. Now, this tells us that more than half have been surveyed by the NBS. More Nigerians are poor, multidimensionally speaking. What else do we have there? What else? Let's go, guys. Now, the sad thing for us, and this is not a very good thing to start the show with, but I just needed to break down that survey for you. In case you've seen those headlines, I needed to break it down for you. 29% of school-aged children do not attend school as we speak. So 29% of school-aged children between, those between the school age are not attending any form of, do not have any form of education as we speak. And 94% of all out-of-school children are poor. You recall, I think, from the United Nations, the out-of-school children in Nigeria, it's at 20 million. So 20 million Nigerian children are out of school as we speak. And 94% of the school children are poor. The Nigeria MPI report that was launched yesterday urged the government to set child poverty reduction as a top priority. In fact, it should be declared as an emergency as we speak. Professor Ibrahim Gambari did represent the president at the launch yesterday, and he did mention that the report will be taken and looked at, as well as they will be analyzing that as it concerns the social intervention schemes of the federal government. Don't forget that President Muhammadu Buhari announced in 2019 that it is his intention to pull 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, I think by 2030. We'll come back to that. Now, let's deal with the nitty-gritty here. And I would also want to say today on the program that if you take a look at the 4 dimensions which the NBS has measured, health and education especially do fall under the human development or human capital, human development index, health as well as education. Health, primary health, it's, in the purview of the state government, also education, primary health, primary education in the purview of the state government. Now, Sokoto State ranks the highest with poorest population at 91%. Bayelsa, Jigawa, Kebbi, Gombe, Yobe ranked among states with poorest Nigerians, according to this report. Ondo State ranked the lowest in incidence of multidimensional poverty at 27%. What this report shows us, if you take a look at it, if you read it, is that every state is plagued with multidimensional poverty. So it's not for anyone to come out and say, I'm a PDP state or I'm a APC state. Both APC and PDP states are indicted with this report, telling us that every state is multidimensionally poor, but it now depends on the rank. Even with Ondo State ranking 27%, that is not also a good number. What else do we have there, guys? Now, like I mentioned earlier, concerning this Nigeria MPI report that was released yesterday by the MBS and its partners, it behoves on us as Nigerians that we cannot continue like this. The economy, many Nigerians are poor, and what exactly is making us even achieve, not in a good manner, this? We know that energy prices, as we speak, high, not just energy prices, that's talking about electricity tariffs, talking also about petrol prices increase across the country. Inflation also is adding to this. Now, let's take a look at another report that the MBS did release, the GDP expenditure and income report. In fact, the NBS is really on fire, and this week it's been releasing reports that is worthy of note. According to the income and expenditure approach report from the National Bureau of Statistics, it said that Nigerians spent 57.1 trillion naira on living expenses from January to June of this year. The Nigerians spent 9.5 out of this 57 trillion. Nigerians spent 9.5 trillion naira monthly. So what you spend, what I spend, we spent it monthly on household consumption. Household consumption, food, fuel, and all of that. The last report that was brought out by the MBS indicates that Nigerians spent about 57% of the monies you have go for food. So what it means here is that Nigerians spend 9.5 trillion naira on household consumption, food, data, going to the market and all of that. Now, Nigerians spent, if we take a look at 2021, in the whole of 2021, Nigerians spent 108 trillion naira on household consumption. Now, this is what we have done from January to June of this year. If I take a look at this mathematically, I'm assuming, assumption, I'm not saying that is what it would be, that Nigeria spent this in the first half of 2022. If you take this again for another second half from July to December, what would that give us? That would give us 2, 4, 11. So we may be more than this in 2021, but that is my own assumption from this data that I can read, but I'm not saying that is what it is, since Nigerians spent 108 trillion naira in 2021. But also recall, I'm putting a caveat there, that in 2021 inflation was not as high as it is right now. I'm just I'm playing up the scenarios. Now, household expenditure rose to 25.6% from minus 1.69% in 2020. What else, guys, do we have? First half 2022 expenditure rose by 14.4% compared to 49.8 trillion naira in the same period of 2021. I hope you all are understanding what I am saying and are interested in what I am saying this morning, because it concerns every one of us. What you have spent and what I have spent, what your business have spent, that is what I am analyzing now according to the NBS. Government expenditure fell year on year from minus 34% to about 61.5%. Government expenditure also dropped by 3.97% year on year to about 4.06 trillion naira within the period under review. Then consumption expenditure of non-profit organizations stood at 496.47 billion naira. Like I mentioned earlier, energy prices, FX rate changes, disposable income inflation.